All right, I call this meeting to order. Board Secretary will now call the roll.
Chair Sutton, Vice Chair Mejia,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Nyorve, Director Angeles, Director Angeles,
Present.
Director Kemp, Director Rawlings,
Present.
Director Thrash Intook, Directors Sutton, Kemp, and Thrash Intook have been excused. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Now Jen will present the... Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Pursuant to AB 2499, a remote attendance just cause reason has been provided by one of the board members, Angeles. In order to do that, a majority or a quorum of the board needs to be within the jurisdiction of where Long Beach Transit does business. That is that requirement is met. In addition, the announcement of the just cause reason needs to be provided to you. That has been done so with this announcement. And then you all need to make a finding on the record in order to allow this remote appearance or attendance by this board member pursuant to AB 2499. And I would state for the members of the public that this matter is, this meeting is being broadcast by Zoom, video and audio, and the board members' participation will be by video and by audio. That concludes my report regarding AB 2499 and a board member's remote attendance using the just cause provision of that statute. So you all would need to make a finding amongst yourselves, talk about it, say yay or nay, and then we would go forward.
Thank you. So is that like a motion that we need to do, or?
You can do it by motion.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay. Discussion?
So we'll take the vote.
Okay, sounds good.
Chair Sutton, Vice Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nyorve, Director Angeles,
So Jen, do you have to always unmute me, or can I just remain on?
I'll fix that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yay or nay, Director?
Aye.
Director Kemp, Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Thrash Intook, Director Sutton, Kemp, and Thrash Intook have been excused.
Great. So moving on to our regular agenda. Now Jen Flores will present the May 2024 Employee of the Month.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Mejia, members of the board, and Mr. McDonald. I am Jen Flores, Board Secretary. In support of LBT's strategic priorities, a priority of fostering employee engagement, it is my pleasure to acknowledge the Employees of the Month for May 2024. Bus operator Roy Norwood has been employed with LBT for 12 years, and this is his second Employee of the Month nomination. He consistently embodies exemplary customer service, maintaining a positive and proactive demeanor. Operator Norwood recently received a commendation for his exceptional assistance of a disabled customer, showcasing his commitment to going above and beyond. Furthermore, he notably has maintained an impressive level of service by leaving our yard and arriving at bus stops on time throughout his assigned route. For maintenance and infrastructure, we have utility worker Ishmael Lopez, who has been with LBT for 2 years, and this is his first Employee of the Month nomination. He shines for his willingness to help and goes above and beyond daily. Ishmael is the only utility worker during his shift, ensuring that the LBT1 shop stays in pristine condition, all while shuttling vehicles and cleaning buses. He was instrumental this year in preparing the display bus for LBT's booth at the Grand Prix. Ishmael is dependable and makes himself available when things require a little extra help, which has become a great asset to LBT. Maintenance Supervisor Bobby Warren has been with LBT for 6 years, and this is his second Employee of the Month nomination. His consistent, dedicated service as a supervisor, willingness to cover shifts, and proactive approach showcase his integral role in the LBT2 maintenance team. His commitment to excellence ensures smooth operations, evidenced by his oversight of fleet repairs and campaign projects, boosting departmental efficiency. For example, his diligence is showcased when he ensures measures are taken to promptly expedite getting buses back on the road in the shortest period. Supervisor Warren's collaborative spirit, technical expertise, and professionalism highlight his value to Long Beach Transit. It is my pleasure to now present these valuable members of the Long Beach Transit team.
My name is Roy Norwood. I'm a bus operator. And I've been with Long Beach Transit 12 and a half years. My favorite thing here at Long Beach is driving the bus and helping passengers get to their destination. I'm happy to be Employee of the Month at Long Beach Transit. It's a great opportunity and accomplishment for working here at Long Beach Transit.
Hi, my name is Ismael Lopez, and I'm a utility, and I've been here for about 2.5 years. My favorite part about working at LBT is driving the buses and having to clean them, just because it's very challenging. I like that part. I'm happy about being Employee of the Month. It's appreciated because, like I said, it's very challenging. So I just love being appreciated for my hard work. So that's what I like about it.
My name is Bobby Warren, maintenance supervisor here at LBT2, and I've been here for 8 years. My favorite part of working at LBT is working with the guys on the floor and a small unit cohesion and teamwork. It's, somewhat embarrassing, but it's a testament to the guys that work for me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Thank you to all of the Employees of the Month for being dedicated to connecting communities, moving people, making everyday life better. We appreciate all essential workers, especially our own. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Are there any public comments from the public? I would like to remind you, if you have not already done so, you will need a speaker card to the Board of Secretary, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. You will address the board only on the time of the item. There's no public comments. All right. Seeing none, we will move to consent calendar. All matters, including the consent calendar, are considered.
Sorry, Chair Mejia, we do have a public comment.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Canfield?
Hey, this is for general public comment, right? Non-agendized items?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to let Long Beach Transit know that I work with, I'm a volunteer for an organization called Carlight Long Beach. By the way, my name is Kurt Canfield. And we just had a very fun and successful transit tour here in Long Beach. The LA Sparks were playing at the Walter Pyramid for a very brief duration while there's construction happening at Crypto.com Arena. And we organized, along with a couple of other groups, a large group to go ride the Long Beach Transit bus lines from Sweetwater Saloon in, I think it's Alamitos Beach, over to Walter Pyramid. And so we got a lot of people out there. I think our full count was about 17 folks who showed up. We took transit to the game, and we rode it on our way back. And it was a really great experience, and would love to partner in the future with Long Beach Transit for future transit tours. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that that's a thing that we're interested in doing, and we like showing off the transit that works here. Thank you.
There are no other comments.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you for that comment. Sounds like a great tour. All right. So moving, we will now move to consent calendar.
Ms. Vice Chair,
Yes.
I make a suggestion that someone contact the public speaker so that we have his name and his organization's name on file so that we can discuss further partnerships with his organization.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Great. More comments? Okay. Consent calendar. All matters including on the consent calendar are considered routine by the LBT Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a member of the Board of Directors or public so requests, in which event the matter shall be removed from consent calendar and considered as a separate item. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Moved. Senor seconds.
Perfect. Those in favor say A. Those opposed say nay.
Chair Sutton? Vice Chair Mejia?
A.
Secretary Treasurer Anyorbe? Director Angeles?
Aye.
Director Kemp? Director Rawlings?
Aye.
Director Thrash-Untook? Director Sutton, Kemp, and Thrash-Untook have been excused.
Perfect. The motion carries. The consent calendar has been approved. All right. Moving forward to agenda item 6, monthly financial report presented by Lisa Patton.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and to everyone assembled here today. My name is Lisa Patton, and I'm the Executive Director and Vice President of Finance and Budget. And I'm before you today to present the financial report for the period of July 1, 2023 through April 30th, 2024. First, we'll take a quick look at the statement of revenue and expenses. If you look at the left side of the report, it gives you the monthly comparison to the prior year and to the budget, and then the right side gives you that year-to-date comparison. The top portion of the report talks about the operating revenue, and that's the revenue that Long Beach Transit directly generates. Our largest revenue source is passenger fares, and you can see that it's continuing to trend above last year and above budget. So we're at 102% for passenger fares and 105% year-to-date. The second largest category in this is interest and miscellaneous, and that also has trended above last year and above budget, and that reflects the favorable interest rate environment. Next is subsidy revenue, and you can see a large increase in the federal for the month of April, and that's the timing of the drawdown, so that's some catch up for the FTA drawdowns. The other subsidy revenues, the state, county, and local, are right on target for budget. So overall total subsidy revenue for the month of April is at 129%, 93% year to date. And so the operating revenue and subsidy revenue combined gives us the total revenue, which you can see is at 128% for the month and 96% year to date. Next is the operating expenses by division, and you can see operations is right on point at 99% for the month, 100% year to date. Maintenance is at 100% for the month, 102% year to date. Administration is at 95% for the month, 89% year to date. And fuel and lubricants is at 70% for the month, 85% year to date. So if we go to the next page, we can see the details on these expenses. And just to orient you, it's broken out by division. You can see the operations, maintenance, and admin, and then the total current month, and then you can get the comparison on the right to the budget and the year to date. And so labor is our biggest area of expense. It's our biggest area of investment. And you can see the impacts of the increases to the recent contract agreements. And so operators for the month of April are at 104% for the month, 102% year to date. Maintenance is at 102% for the month, 107% year to date. And then staff are at 104% for the month and 92% year to date. We drop down, one of the things that may stick out on the page is employment physicals. And this reflects the increase in hiring and the timing for pre-employment physical. So you'll see it's above budget for April, but is within budget. If we go to the next page of our report, we can look at material and supplies. Highlighted here, one of the areas that's been a challenge as a result of the inflationary price increases we're seeing is that fleet parts and supplies are above budget for the month and year to date. The other area that's trended up this year has been casualty and liabilities. And so we've seen our insurance renewals consistently trending higher than budget. Under miscellaneous expenses, one that might stick out is dues and subscriptions. It's within budget for the year. The month of April included the 6-month subscription for the Long Beach Press Telegram. So overall, total operating expenses are within budget. For the month of April, it's at 97%, and for the year to date, it's also at 97%. If we go to the next page, our balance sheet, we can see it's the assets at the top. We do have a slight increase in cash and investments. On the receivables, we saw an increase in receivables for the federal and state, and then a decrease on the county and local receivables. If we, the next slide, we'll see the liabilities and capital. And we do have an increase in trade payables. That's the money that is outstanding that is due for us to pay. And the two largest areas there are Long Beach PD invoices and Allied Universal invoices. So that completes my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lisa. If there are any public comments, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't done so already, you need a speaker card or secretary. Any public comment? All right, seeing none, is there any discussion from the board? All right, thank you, Lisa. All right, moving on. Now Ashley Lang will present agenda item 7.
Right. Okay. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Mejia, Mr. McDonald, and to all board members and to all those who are assembled today. My name is Ashley Liang, and I'm the treasurer for Long Beach Transit. I am before you today to request the board of directors to approve the updated investment policy statement for the financial assets of Long Beach Transit. The investment policy statement, which is commonly referred to as the IPS, provides serves as a guide for staff to supervise, monitor, and evaluate the financial assets of Long Beach Transit. The policy is included in your board packet. Each year, we bring this policy before the board in accordance with the California Government Code Section 600, and the policy consists of 12 sections. In the following slides, I'll be going over some of the highlights of the policy. The scope clarifies the applicability of the policy to the financial assets of Long Beach Transit that are invested using prudent money management practices in accordance with the Code Section 5600 and all applicable laws and regulations. The objective of the policy is to safeguard the principal as the primary objective of Long Beach and maintain sufficient liquidity to fund operating requirements and attain a market average return on investments through economic cycles. And utilize prudent investor standards, which is defined as oversight with care, skill, and diligence with consideration for the general economic conditions and anticipated needs of the agency. And last, to uphold the ethical behavior and avoid conflicts of interest. The policy also sets guidelines for investment limitations. LBT's financial assets are invested in allowable investment instruments as specified by the Code of 53600, which is referenced in the Appendix A of the policy. And it also states that LBT transact only with qualified banks, savings and loans, and registered security dealers, and that the funds be held with an independent third-party institution for custodial safety. Where the confirmation receipts are provided for any trades and transactions. In addition to the annual approval of the IPS, a separate quarterly investment report is also provided to the board within 45 days of each quarter end, and the report summarizes the portfolio's investment composition and historical rates of return during the previous 12 months. The policy also stresses the importance of internal control and segregation of duty to further safeguard LBT financial assets. The responsibility of the assets and their oversight is delegated from the Chief Executive Officer to the Executive Director and Vice President of Finance and Budget, who, in addition to utilizing prudent investment standards, as mentioned before, ensures portfolio diversification against excessive competition. And last but not least, the policy requires annual review by the Board of Directors, which is my purpose in today. Therefore, I am before you today to request the Board of Directors to approve the updated investment policy statement for financial assets of Long Beach Transit. That concludes my presentation. Did you answer any questions?
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Ashley, sorry. Sorry, Ashley. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation?
Second.
Perfect. All right. Are there any comments from the public? Right. Please call for a vote. Oh, sorry, discussion of board members.
I don't have a specific discussion. I just want to say thank you for managing this and doing it every year. The report was really helpful to come up to speed on this, so thank you.
Any additional discussion from the board? Seeing none, we can call for a vote.
Chair Sutton, Vice Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Yorve, Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp, Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Thrashentook, Directors Sutton, Kemp, and Thrashentook have been excused.
Great, motion passes. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to item 8, recommendation to adopt the fiscal 2025 operating budget for $132,189,921, and the fiscal year for the 2025 capital budget for $45,843,574.
Okay, good afternoon. Vice Chair Mejia, members of the board, LBT executive leadership team, staff, and all who assembled here today. I am Kenneth McDonald, President and CEO of Long Beach Transit. Today, I will present to you LBT's fiscal year 2025 operating capital budget. As I get started, I will first orient you to the topics that I will review this afternoon. I will begin with the CEO's message for fiscal year 2025. And next, I will then review the organizational focus. Following that, I will provide an overview of the FY 2024 major accomplishments. I will then discuss the FY 2025 budget, including the foundation upon which the budget was built, the budget objectives, the challenges and opportunities facing the organization, and then lead into the operating and capital budget. I will conclude with an organizational award and recognize the employees who had a role in bringing this budget and presentation together. This year's budget was created around a theme that all employees and stakeholders of LBT can rally around. As the CEO, I work to cultivate an agency of resilience in the transit industry. The CEO's fiscal 2025 message can be found at the beginning of the budget book. As our agency confronts these perilous times of slow growth, stagnant revenue, and rising day-to-day operational costs, LBT continues to challenge the often unrealistic expectation that the agency can simply dip into the proverbial pot of gold and address all of the organizational, societal, and economic woes. Striving into fiscal year 2025, LBT will rise to the monumental task of maintaining the same level of day-to-day operations while providing an increased level of high-quality services to our customers. Accordingly, the theme for fiscal year 2025 is efficiency through organizational optimization. As published in a recent business journal, they explain that organizational optimization as the practice of aligning and making the most of an organization's resources to assist the organization in achieving its goals and objectives. LBT's emphasis with organizational optimization is to align its initiatives with organizational strategies while ensuring that the initiatives are properly implemented to position the agency for growth and success. The effectiveness of any optimization strategy will vary greatly depending on the specific context of the state of the organization. Optimizing an organization is a multifaceted endeavor with no one-size-fits-all. Optimization involves the continuous process of evaluation, adaptation, measurement, and improvement across all organizational functions. Recognizing the diversity and complexity within our organization is key to developing tailored approaches that can lead to sustained improvement and competitive advantage. Consequently, I will seek to optimize LBT's 6 core business categories. And the business categories are transit service delivery, transit asset management, customer experience, corporate risk management, information technology, and internal business function. Later in my presentation, I will go over each of these in terms of the impact and expenses and costs to the organization. LBT's fiscal year 2025 budget endeavors to elevate each department's operations to their pinnacle and instigate continuous improvement initiatives across the agency by synchronizing business department and business initiatives with the organizational priority. The path to organizational optimization is consistent with LBT budget development practices and parallels the agency's organizational focus. LBT's organizational optimization will use a 4-step approach that was created by the Academy for Innovative Human Resources. Step 1, as shown in this picture before you, we review the business goals and current situation. We will evaluate LBT's organizational initiative through a set of lenses that not only acknowledge but actively address the short and long-term objectives of each business category. What have we done in the past that may not serve us well going into the future? And what can each of us do to be more efficient in the future? Step 2, learn what each team wants to achieve for the organization. We must thoroughly understand and regularly revisit LBT priorities and consider the company's culture, processes, and services, and how LBT works with customers both internally and externally. We must ask, what is the structure that will improve teamwork? What do the teams have to achieve to meet LBT's objectives, and what do each team want to achieve in the coming year? Step 3 is ensure the business has the necessary skills. Optimizing agency resources hinges on strategic personnel management, emphasizing the acquisition and cultivation of talent tailored to the organizational. LBT's guiding principle of hiring for heart, training for excellence underscores the paramount importance of aligning intellectual capital with agency objectives, thereby fostering optimization across all facets of the agency. It is important that we know what technologies must LBT introduce for organizational optimization. And step 4 is monitor and improve the organization's performance. The CEO has established an across-the-board accountability matrix that monitors and enables employees to see where we are and where we need to make improvements as a team, as in departments, and across the organizational performance levels. I am confident that the budget I will present today and our optimizational focus will positively serve LBT in fiscal year 2025 and into the future. On the slide before you are LBT's vision, mission, and value, which are outlined in more detail in the organizational focus section of the budget book beginning on page 13. The vision outlines the agency's aspiration for the following principles: provide high-performance services to our customers, partner with local and regional stakeholders, build an environmentally sustainable organization, and deliver quality transportation services to the diverse communities served. The mission is the purpose of our agency, and Long Beach Transit is dedicated to connecting communities and moving people, making everyday life better. As I often say, our mission could simply come down to making everyday life better. LBT values are the ideals and beliefs that showcase the behaviors we expect of everyone associated with the business of LBT. Consider the customer first in decision making by being of service to others. Operate with integrity, especially when no one else is watching. Be open to new ideas and continuous improvement by seeking ways to improve current processes. Be proactive. Take personal ownership, especially when things go wrong. Cultivate the potential of each and every employee. We must strengthen LBT through development and training. This slide highlights LBT's strategic priorities, which are the foundational pillars used to plan, develop, evaluate, and measure the agency's annual objectives. These strategic priorities are the agency's continual activities to improve safety and service quality, as we exercise financial accountability, so that we foster employee engagement with the goal of enhancing our customer experience, then promote community and industry focus to build our organization. This is the framework of how we plan and grow our organization. LBT's organizational focus contains each of the components which supports our strategies and processes and serves as the foundation of the agency's annual budget development. This graphical depiction showcases the linkages between the vision, the mission, the values, and connects the leadership competencies to the strategic priorities to guide our day-to-day decision. Coupled with organizational goals, this process flow displays the continuous improvement cycle where LBT uses key performance indicators to track organizational performance and redesign processes for agency improvement. The first step in creating organizational optimization for this upcoming budget was to look back at fiscal year 2024. In 2024, as LBT was moving forward, the agency was able to accomplish many goals set forth in last year's budget initiative. I would like to highlight a few of those that are shown before you from the list that is shown before you. We relocated administrative staff to LBT corporate offices and established this Rosa Parks board chambers where we will now conduct LBT board business. This relocation allows us to begin modernization of LBT1 to become 100% zero emission battery facility. We completed contract negotiation with ATU and reached a 3-year agreement and a 4-year agreement with ASME. Also, we completed and implemented a compensation package for LBT staff employees. We hosted NTI procurement training, and LBT hosted 2 National Transit Institute 4-day procurement training. Procurement 1, orientation to transit procurement, and procurement 2, risk assessment and base cost price analysis. More than 40 transit agency professionals from across the country attended these sessions in this very building. We implemented employee wellness activities, the Calm and Noom apps, so that employees can find a way on their personal time to do personal development. We also conducted employee biometric events where employees receive personal health screenings and healthy living tips. Finally, we implemented a new customer relationship management or CRM system to track customer calls and feedback. The system was updated so that LBT can ensure timely and thorough responses to our customer questions. As I stated previously, the principal focus of this year's budget is efficiency through organizational optimization. Being efficient leaders in these challenging times is imperative if we are to execute the budget that will be presented today. This budget builds on the solid foundation of years past. It also develops a strategy that LBT leads into the future with the initiatives focused on increasing customer, community, and stakeholder value for the organization. An overview of the budget begins on page 29 of the budget book. I will now focus on the foundational pillars that support fiscal year 2025 budget. This outline is shown in more detail on page 41 of the budget book. The FY 2025 budget is built upon the following. Number 1, no fare increase. This is an extremely difficult financial approach. Nevertheless, maintaining our current fare structure is imperative to continue regrowing ridership, as the vast majority of customers are facing the same economic challenges as LBT since the pandemic. 2, deliver planned services. LBT's goal is to provide 100% of planned services in fiscal year 2025. LBT has incrementally increased service hours to meet customer needs and balance these hours against the rising challenges of delivering daily transit services as costs continue to rise around our organization. The third step is mitigating rising costs. Across the nation, inflationary prices for supplies and services are continuing to increase. LBT parts and material, healthcare, and property insurance has all seen double-digit rising costs over the last several years. At the same time, sources of revenue are slowly shrinking as transit agencies like LBT must find ways to enhance their revenues with the one-time federal funding expiring. 4th, sustain long-term fiscal viability. Over the last 5-year span, including the proposed FY 2025 budget, Wages have increased 40%, and healthcare expenses have increased 25%. In the same period, ridership on our system has shrunk 28% from 24 million to about 18 million boardings annually. And our fare box revenue has fallen 36% from 14 million back in 2020 to about 9.5 million this year. 70% of plus of LBT's operating budget is labor and fringe benefits. We are a labor intensive organization. This inverse trend that I reported between expenses and revenue is further compounded by the introduction of under-subsidized programs such as the Go Pass that adds demand and stress to the system during peak hours without the adequate and necessary funding to sustain the program. LBT must carefully navigate the upcoming years and be good fiscal stewards, as we face the expiration of the one-time federal funding and the increased demand that are put upon us for free programs. Finding new revenue sources is important in the upcoming year. Finally, last foundation is acquire no debt. Long Beach Transit has maintained a long-standing practice of not managing our agency by acquiring debt. We plan for long-term projects and structure our spending based on present and future funding availability and projection. LBT leaders work extremely hard to avoid debt financing, which must be paid back and can drain the long-term operating resources of the company. Hence, LBT lives by the practice of acquiring debt. The other building blocks of LBT's budget is our annual objectives. The objectives are created around the agency's strategic priorities. The FY 2025 objectives are seen on this chart and can be found on page 42 of the budget book. Under each strategic priority, we have identified objectives that we are going to accomplish with this budget. I will not go through each of these, but I have them listed for you. Most importantly is enhancing the safety and security of our employees and customers while delivering 100% of planned service. Security has become a major importance in transit agency. We've seen an increase in attack on our operators and other customers on transit services across the country. So what are the outcomes that we expect from this budget? We would improve safety and security to give customers the confidence to ride public transportation. We deliver 100% of the planned services to our customers by increasing fleet reliability and reducing service failure. We will recruit and retain operators and staff to deliver the dependable services our customers have come to expect. We will optimize resources and processes to ensure long-term success for the agency. We will generate revenue, grow our agency, and provide the amenities our customers and employees expect. And we will build and capitalize on LBT brand awareness within the community and across the transportation industry. This year's budget objectives and outcomes are designed to increase LBT efficiency through organizational optimization. There are many challenges facing LBT in FY 2025. I will now address some of our major challenges and actions we will take to turn these into opportunities for our agency. In fiscal year 2025, LBT is proposing to run 664,127 service hours. This is 1% less than planned last fiscal year, as we struggled to deliver our service in the last year. Our focus is to totally fill and retain the 480 plus employees needed in the front line position to deliver our service. In order to provide the planned service hours and in alignment with this year's budget objectives, LBT is pursuing the following activities. Engage our officers, security personnel, and transit ambassadors to cultivate an environment for safe, customer-centric service quality every day. We will deliver the planned service hours, as that will assist our customers to get to their destination on the times scheduled on each route. We will increase fleet reliability, getting the new buses delivered to LBT in a timely manner so that we can remove from service the buses that are approaching the end of their useful life, and converting LBT1 fleet of buses to zero-emission vehicles as quickly as possible. We will hire and retain operators and mechanics, hire customer-centric operators to meet service demands while improving our on-time performance. And we must train our mechanics who are competent to keep the fleet in a constant state of good repair. The central point of this year's proposed service hours, the number of operators available to run the daily service. As we add and retain new operators, I would reevaluate the service delivery plan going forward. This leads to the next challenge facing LBT, which is hiring customer-centric operators. Currently, we have about 452 operators. Each day, about 70 operators are absent from work due to workers' compensation, long-term absences, and daily sick call-outs. LBT needs to have 480 plus operators to be able to deliver services on all the proposed daily routes and schedule. Our current goal is to add 8 operators per class and to get to our daily goal. There's also the challenge of operator retention. Out of the last 90 operators LBT hired, we retained 40. I mean, we lost 50 of our operators, these front line. The new collective bargaining unit and the reduction of time to become a top operator from 10 to 5 years would help LBT to be competitive in the marketplace. When LBT can keep operators in the job for 3 or more years, long-term retention historically increases. To turn this into an opportunity, we're undertaking a number of actions to aid in operator hiring and retention. First, it is important that we hire for heart and train for excellence. This is a customer-centric position for people in the people business. Individuals who are people persons are more likely to be successful as an operator and stay with LBT for a long career. So we seek to try to find people who are more people persons as we look to hire positions. Current operator hiring activities that we are undertaking, we have developed a task force that meets weekly to ensure that LBT can successfully onboard candidates who already have commercial driver's license. The task force is also problem solving and strategizing on operator hiring and the barriers we face of retaining those operators. The talent acquisition team has attended in this first 5 months 14 job fairs seeking to hire new operators, and we are partnering with technical institutes to help us to train and find people to fill the job. Currently, TransDev is laying off about 200 workers, and we are seeking to see if we can increase our operator count from these employees. We do a lot of advertising too on our website, outside of our buses, advertising campaign, LinkedIn, Transit Talent, and local colleges and universities. Healthcare expenses continue to rise over the last few years. As I reported earlier, in the last 5 years, the costs have increased more than 25%. A more detailed graph depicting healthcare costs over the past 5 years can be found on page 51 of the budget book. At this time, we do not see any reduction in sight. To address the challenges, LBT is partnering with the insurance carrier to implement programs that assist in managing expenses in order to mitigate future increases. We are analyzing data with the insurance company to identify actions that can be taken before accidents or injury occurs. LBT is not seeing increases in revenue to keep up with the cost increases in health. In fiscal year 2024, LBT is averaging about 1.5 million boardings monthly, which could translate to approximately 18 million boarding by the end of the fiscal year 2024. This fiscal year, LBT will continue incremental service adjustments with the aim to provide 100% of planned services and better address customer travel demands. Though we have seen a 4% increase in ridership this year, it has not translated into increase in revenue. The ridership increase in large part due to the Go Pass program, which is relatively a free program. However, with this increase in ridership, there is no equal or additional revenue being generated. During COVID, LBT internship program was put on hold. In the last fiscal year, LBT restarted the program, which has been aided by the relocation of administrative staff to the company headquarters. We now have the space for the 26 budgeted intern position. In the upcoming fiscal year, LBT will continue collaborating with local colleges to support the highly successful college internship program. Interns will gain real-world work experience on meaningful projects under the guidance of transportation professionals. The interns will have the opportunity to develop their problem-solving, communication, and decision-making skills. Through this initiative, LBT is able to develop and grow a talent pipeline for our agency and the transportation industry. I will now provide an overview of fiscal year 2025 operating revenue. The following information can be found on page 45 of the budget book. LBT's operating revenue for fiscal year 2025 is $132.2 million. Operating revenue in fiscal year 2024 is $125.8 million. And this year, there's a 5.09 increase in operating revenue. Please note, this is lower than the 6% salary increase for some union members. I will talk about this in my discussion on the operating expenditure. The three most prominent revenue sources are: 1, Los Angeles County provided the largest revenue of $59.4 million, or 45% of the total revenue. This revenue comes from the local sales tax initiatives known as Prop A and Prop C, and Measure M and Measure R. The second is the state assistance, $32 million or 24.2 million of the budget. This revenue comes from the Transit Development Act of 1971, which is comprised of local transit funds and state transit funds. State transit assistance is continually becoming more challenging. Earlier this month, Governor Newsom stated that the state deficit is in excess of $27.6 billion. So we can expect that we can see some cuts coming from state funding in the near future. The third source is federal government. The federal one-time in this year's fiscal year, in this fiscal budget, is $15.2 million or 11.5% of the budget. This one-time revenue comes from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And the remainder of these funds will be exhausted in fiscal year 2026. You can view pages 63 to 69 for all revenue sources and description in the budget book. I want to talk briefly about our fare revenue. In fiscal year 2024, LBT estimated $9.5 million in fare revenue collection. we are projecting fare revenue actuals to be close to this $9.5 million. For fiscal year 2025, we are projecting to collect $9.7 million in fare revenue. That's a mere increase of $200,000. A more detailed 5-year outlook of the fare revenue can be found on page 46 in the budget book. This year, LBT will also continue the Go Pass program, which provides subsidized rides on LBT buses for students of participating K-12 and community college schools that are in our service area. The increased demand from this program is in the rush hour and continues to strain our daily availability of operators and buses. However, paying for this service, even though it's a burden on LBT finances, the program addresses many societal needs for our youth, provides an immediate relief for students, and introduces public transportation to all students who can become future long-term transit users. As much as there are challenges with the budget, there's a lot of positive that comes out of this program, which I as a fully support. Another upcoming challenge LBT will be facing is the call for free transit for more and more individual groups that seem to come from LA Metro every other week. And how that would connecting agencies, as we would be expected to follow this from people who are traveling in the area, will pay for these free rides initiative as the cost to deliver our services continue to rise. So we keep on our eyes on the free programs that are continually in presented as a way to enhance or what we call ridership. But to me, what it does, it brings, it brings a lot of non-destination riders on our system, and that becomes a real challenge in terms of security and for our system and for our operators. We'll continue to look at where these go in the future. But I can tell you that I would be very, very opposed to a lot of these programs that don't come with any funding when we are putting into free programs that go forward. So the operating revenue I just discussed in the preceding table are shown in a pie chart by revenue sources and dollar amount here. This chart can be found on page 45 of the budget book, and it's the $132.2 million that is the revenue source for the budget this fiscal year. Now I will transition to the fiscal year 2025 operating expenditure. Looking at our overall expenditure, you can see we are a labor-intensive organization. As I said earlier, we are people in the people business, both internally and externally. Fiscal year 2025 operating expenditure, since it's a balanced budget, is $132.2 million. Wages and benefits are approximately $92.9 million, or 70% of the total budget. All other expenditures equate about 30% of the total budget. The pie chart can be found on page 49 of the budget book. The main increases in this year's category of the budget is wages. Wages had the largest increase, followed by fringe benefit, and then other operating expenses, which includes our parts and services. The fiscal year 2025 budget is guided by LBT strategic priority. LBT divides its core business function into 6 categories that are shown on the pie chart before you. These are the cost drivers of LBT's transit business. The chart shown on here can be found on page 52 of the budget book. I will give a brief description of each business category in the next set of slides, which are captured in the budget book beginning on page 53. Our first category is transit service delivery, starting on page 77 of the budget book. This ensures that LBTs has trained, skilled operators as well as other employees to plan, schedule, and deliver the services we provide. The function directly relates to the transit service delivery. All functions directly related to transit service delivery are captured in this category. Providing daily service delivery, as can be expected, is the largest expense within the organization at $57.2 million. We spend about 3.7 on system security, service planning and scheduling, along with training are elements of the service delivery and consume about $3.1 million. Dialer lift and aqua services make up the rest of the category at $2.5 million. The total for this category for service delivery and each of the other security and scheduling and training, aqua and dialer lift is 66.8 million, or 51% of LBT's total budget. Transit asset management is the second, and this category comprises of maintenance and infrastructure, fuel and lubricants, procurement, and warehouse function. LBT's first major focus is to keep its asset in a state of good repair. This ensures we have buses available to provide daily revenue service. Vehicle maintenance takes the largest share of this core business category at $20.8 million. Infrastructure and utilities consume about $7.6 million, and fuel and lubricant about $6.4 million. Total asset management absorbs $37 million, or 29% of the total LBT budget. The customer experience chart shown before you can be found on page 52 of the budget book and includes transit, customer amenities, and customer relations and communication. We provide high quality services, and customers have come to expect that standard from LBT. Our customers see LBT as a high performing agency, and we must continue to solicit feedback from our customers and seek ways to meet or exceed their expectations. That being said, the two areas included in this category are imperative to our long-term success. This year, we'll spend $3.4 million on enhancing our customer experience. We'll focus on making sure that our customers know that we are listening to them and taking steps to address their concerns. We'll expend $1.5 million on our customer amenities department to keep our transit stops in first-class condition. This category also received funding from the capital program, which we'll discuss later. About $4.9 million, or 4% of the total $132 million, is spent on this category, customer experience. LBT's next business category about managing the agency's risk. This chart before you captures the agency's risk management department, including insurance, workers' compensation, liability claims, and risk mitigation. The agency will expend $6.3 million in this category, or 5% of the total expenditure. LBT expends $2.2 million on annual insurance premium, and $3 million of our expenditure goes towards LBT self-insured policy deductible. If there are unused funds from the fiscal year risk management area, the funds are retained and reallocated to the next year's budget. Corporate risk management can be located on page 97 of the budget book. Information technology begins on page 99 of the budget book. This category includes the network of critical information and data management system that enables LBT to effectively perform its day-to-day function. This area is fast becoming one of the most critical functions of our agency. A secure and reliable IT network is as important as managing the agency risk profile. LBT is moving towards a cloud transition and is investing more in cybersecurity, project delivery, computer upgrades, and new technology, such as remote help desk support, Zoom and Microsoft Teams, Room access across LBT and visitor management software. LBT also plans to explore and utilize technology such as forward-facing cameras, onboard electronic advertising, employee skill development portals, and artificial intelligence. Staff is actively seeking product line integrated and advanced generative and predictive AI capability to streamline our day-to-day operation. In our current search for a new ERP EAM tool, one of our priorities to ensure the inclusion of generative AI within the product suite. 5.5 million is currently expended in this category, or about 4% of our operating expenditure. The internal business function incorporates the personnel plans and mechanism to ensure that LBT can effectively lead and focus on its mission. LBT spends 11.2 million, which is 8% of the total operating budget. 92% of LBT's spending goes directly towards organizational plans and programs to provide services to our customers. Properly handling our administrative category makes LBT an efficient organization, as vast majority of our dollars are spent on maintaining our assets, delivering our daily services, expanding technology, and protecting our organization. Internal business function starts on page 101 of the budget book. These two pie charts, which can be found on page 45 and 52 of the budget book, shows the revenue and expenditures of the organization. The chart depicts our balanced fiscal year 2025 operating budget that is being presented to you today. The current, as I said, FY22 budget is 130.2 million. I will now focus on the capital budget program. Our capital budget focuses on implementing a capital investment strategy that assists the agency in controlling operating expenses. More information can be found beginning on page 111 of the budget book. The capital analysis process before you is the tool used to evaluate and prioritize our capital project. Using a prioritization system, we rank our investments related to the major needs of the organization for improving safety and security, for enhancing customer amenities, for rehabilitating and maintaining assets, for modifying and expanding our facility, for replacing and expanding our fleet, and for upgrading and introducing new technology systems. We have established a 3-tier prioritization process to effectively manage our limited capital funds. This ranking system allows staff to identify projects each fiscal year based on the project value to the agency. Essential projects mean that it must deliver high quality services and infrastructure. We fund these first. Priority is critical to support and deliver our core business and services, and these projects are next on the availability funding ladder. Added value is important to our transit business, but can be delayed if funding is constrained. LBT's main focus is to have a capital investment strategy that allow the organization to invest in projects that would control long-term expenses. All capital projects are developed in consideration of the capital strategic focus element, as shown in the pie chart, and can be found on page 117 of the budget book. A group of employees who are leading our data management of LBT's key performance indicators are selected to conduct the initial evaluation of all capital requests. The group recommendations are then presented to the executive leadership team, and after in-depth review and discussion, here before you are the categories of funding allocation that the executive team decided upon for fiscal year 2025. As displayed on this slide and found on page 119 of the budget book, our capital funding comes from three major sources: federal, state, and county. Capital funding is projected this year to be 45.8 million. 24.2 million is stated to come from the federal government, another 16.3 million from the state, and 5.3 million from local sources. Just to highlight a couple of the projects that we are undertaking, beginning on page 123 of the budget book, you can find more detailed explanation on the capital projects for FY25. LBT will do a bus replacement program. We plan to spend close to $20 million on the next 20 procurement that we expect to put out by the fall of 2024. LBT is also planning a midlife overhaul for our 60-foot articulated buses starting in the summer of 2024. We are looking at our customer amenities team and working on a scope of work to update bus stops along Cherry Avenue, Long Beach Boulevard, and Atlantic Avenue corridors, and implement an improvement to the transit gallery in FY25. LBT will continue transition to the next phase of the ERP EAM system procurement process. And the ERP is for enterprise resource planning, and EAM is enterprise asset management. If I didn't, but it's in the budget book. If it's where more details can be found. We are currently evaluating vendors who will manage the implementation process and collaborate with our internal implementation team to redesign business workflows, enhance business processes, improve our data collection and reporting, and the integration of new software system into our business practice. Finally, LBT goal is to have an all zero emission fleet by 2030. In order for this zero emission fleet to be incorporated, LBT must have the appropriate infrastructure in place. We are currently working to release a new procurement for an A&E architecture and engineering design services to provide drawings that will enable us to hire a construction manager, and then we can begin the design build our charging infrastructure so we can buy more buses and bring them into our system. Before you is the balanced capital budget for the organization. The pie chart can be found on page 59 and 60 of your budget book. As I mentioned at the start of the presentation, staff is focused on creating efficiency through organizational optimization in the development of fiscal year 2025 budget. Before you are the LBT's fiscal year 2025 balanced operating and capital budget as presented today. The operating budget is $132.2 million and the capital budget is $45.8 million. These charts can be found on pages 52 and 60 of the budget book. LBT staff will focus on using the balanced budget as a guide for implementing day-to-day organizational function. So what will we get for this $132,045.8 million? As I reported before, the outcomes: improve safety and safety and security, to give our customers the confidence to ride public transportation and uplift transit values to our employees, community, and stakeholders. We'll deliver 100% of planned services to our customers by increasing fleet reliability, reducing service failure, and thereby increasing ridership. We'll recruit and retain operators and staff to deliver the dependable services our customers have come to expect. We'll optimize resources and processes with our ERP EAM to ensure long-term success for the agency. We'll continue to look at ways to generate revenue, grow our agency, and provide the amenities that meet our employees and customer needs. And we will build and capitalize on LBT brand awareness within the community and transportation industry. as I come to a close, which I know everyone is waiting for, I want to express my appreciation for the extensive effort put forward by LBT's executive leadership team and the management staff to ensure that the agency work programs are outlined and presented within a balanced budget that aligns with expenditure of the agency's available revenue. Before my acknowledgement of staff, each year, LBT Board of Directors adopts a budget to implement the agency's operating objective and capital strategic plan. For fiscal year 2024 budget, LBT was awarded the Government Finance Officers Association, commonly called GFOA, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. This is the 7th consecutive year that LBT has received this noteworthy award. GFOA best practices identify specific policies and procedures that contribute to improve budget management. The aim is to promote and facilitate positive change or recognize excellence rather than merely codify current accepted practices. The attainment represents a significant accomplishment for LBT as it represents the agency's commitment to meet the highest principles of governmental budgeting. LBT is honored and proud to be acknowledged by the GFOA for publishing a budget document that meets GFOA program criteria as a policy document, a financial plan, an operating guide, and a communication tools for the organization. I am proud to recognize this distinguished award on behalf of our employees and our organization. To conclude, special thanks to LBT's executive leadership team and their role in developing the budget. I would also like to thank the entire finance and budget department for their efforts in coordinating the FY 2025 budget process, led by their leader, Lisa Patton, Executive Director, VP of Finance, Ashley Liang, LBT's Treasurer, Terry Kuhn, the Manager of Finance, Jennifer Maxwell, Manager of Capital Programs, Erica Calderon, our Comptroller, Jeff Fortune, Capital and Grants Planner, Samantha Eilenfeld, Budget Analyst, Irma Pamplona, Finance Analyst, Melissa Cayley, Senior Accountant, Shani Zamora, Grants Senior Accountant, and Laura Orozco, who were the person that put all of these papers and documents that you see before you. Laura spent, where is she? There's the prayer, there she is. Spent a lot of time on this. I know it because I was around her a lot with this. And then in this presentation that I give to you, the one and only Jen Flores, who put most of this together under my guidance. So with that, I want to thank you for that concludes my budget presentation today. Therefore, I am requesting the board to adopt LBT fiscal year 2025 operating and capital budget. Thank you for your attention and staying with me throughout this presentation. I'm going to answer any questions if you have any at this time.
Great, thank you, Ken. But first, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Are there any public comment? Seeing, okay, perfect. Seeing none, discussion from the board.
If I may, how many questions am I allowed to ask? I'm a nerd, so I don't want to keep everybody all night. No, thank you. This is great. It's always, contrary to popular belief, one of my favorite meetings of the years. This is my second one, but I do have a few questions. I'll try to keep them short, and if we can't answer them all today, I'm sure we can have ongoing conversations about them. But I'm going to reference my notes here too. The first thing for me is I really view this budget as a first step and a testing ground, to be honest, for kind of a new era of LBT where the organization is pushed to do more with less, right? And I think you see that throughout the entire report. And I mean that both more for our teammates and more for the community. That's going to require a change in our mindset, a change in a lot of our workflows, our skill set, and a lot more. And I saw in here, Ken, a focus on design thinking. Now, I know that that starts with leadership, obviously, but to work that needs to spread across throughout the entire organization. Can you elaborate on what initiatives leadership is planning to bring that to every teammate?
So I did not spend time on that on purpose because we are in the process right now. We started about I spent a year with the Stanford University on a afternoon program, online program with design thinking, and there are no that I know that any other transit agency that are bringing design thinking into the organization. Because of my experience with it, we started. Lisa went on some training, and other Deborah too, and she left. But we started looking at how we can bring design thinking into Long Beach Transit. So we have what you see in the budget book is 9 elements that we have identified that are important to providing great transit services. The idea in terms of optimization is we'll take each of those elements, put them through the design thinking filter, and relook at our processes. So we are doing this right now. We have 8 teams. The last part of the design thinking is feedback. We have 8 teams, and the teams are now out on the street looking at how they're looking at doing a map for each one of the criteria on how we can look at improving the system. So it is in infancy. We had one meeting. Our next meeting is June 3rd. So by next couple of months, I would expect I'd bring that to the board and how it's changing our organization. But it will do a lot of changes into the organization. I expect that in the next 4 to 5 months, we'll see a lot of things coming out of it that we didn't do before. So as you say, Director, on it, yes, it will have changes, but I purposely did not because we just started it. Like I said, June 3rd, we have a second meeting beginning to really introduce this to the organization and to the transit industry.
Okay, great. Thank you. My next question is about GoPass. So that came up several times throughout. Do we have data on how many students that use the GoPass program now that continue to ride with LBT after graduation? And for context, I fully support this program. It's the right thing to do. I don't want to speak on the rest of the board, but I think we all feel pretty similarly about it. But if we're going to consider it an investment in future ridership, and that's the rationale for why we're working so hard to make sure we can continue it, then we should have the data to support that it's actually leading to those metrics after people graduate.
It's very difficult to do that because one of the things you cannot do is you cannot track students. There is a real legal reason that you can't do that because there are some unsavory people that when you get that information, they can do dangerous things with it.
Of course.
We cannot do that. That is illegal. So what I know that we are focused on is that how do we communicate with these students about the value of transit? So that's about the extent that we can go, that we go to the schools and we make sure that we engage them with that value of transit. They know it themselves. I mean, but how do we keep sharing that information that they are now writing? And that because we saw about, let me go back. The first thing you asked, yes, we have data. We normally present this to the board. I haven't brought it in a while, so we bring out where we are with the GoPass program. So that is overdue right now. So we would bring a presentation of what the students that are writing before and now we can see, and then how do we continue to communicate with them? How do we measure that in the future? It's hard to do that because of why we cannot track who are writing.
Of course, my only thought was even for future surveys, when you're going through the community and asking about ridership, even potentially having a question about, did you used to use this program? Are you still right? That sort of thing. Obviously in a non-invasive legal way.
Good point.
I think would be helpful to have. I don't know if I have a couple more questions, but I want to be sure. Thank you. So I think it's increasingly important that we empower teammates with capable software, right? Tools that will help reach our efficiency and optimization goals. Can you elaborate a little bit on the ERP and EAM replacement project and how we're, like you brought up generative AI, how we're assessing the real world impact of that on internal workflows? Because I think it's important that whatever partner we end up working with for those types of services, that they recognize AI not just as a buzzword, but as they can help be an active guide in demonstrating the material improvements in metrics like employee time, similar things.
Probably because we stated the same thing you said about exactly what we're doing. We are going through the right now. 3 weeks ago, we had the vendors in here in the same room presenting to us. We have we are down to 2 vendors now, and where they're going with this. I can talk about that in because we're in a live procurement right now. I can't go into it, but I can maybe in a closed session talk to the board about, because it is a purchase. But because we're in a live procurement, that I would refrain from bringing out what we're doing right now, because then I would be talking about the vendors, and they can't do that themselves.
Of course, that makes sense.
But I will bring that back to the board, and when we get to that place, that has to come to the board for approval.
Yeah,
we can talk a lot about what we're doing then.
Okay.
Or
perfect.
sometimes, if it's so fit, we can have a closed session and talk about this, because this is a procurement, so I can do that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. My only concern, or my question, is coming from a place of, it's hard for a lot of institutional organizations to have that knowledge around brand new tech that's moving so quickly. And so making sure that we have a deep understanding and have a good partner to help us implement that properly, I think is really critical, as opposed to slapping on like Microsoft Copilot or giving everyone GPT, have fun. That's obviously, we're doing a better job than that, but just that's where the question comes from. And then the last one for me is, of course, there are ongoing challenges with hiring and with retention. And just given the nature of the world and the economy, I would imagine that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. Even with budget constraints in mind, can you share any specific measures that are being planned to ensure a competitive employee experience compared to other agencies?
Yeah, one just today, I signed a increase for trainees. You know, we paid $17 an hour. I think we were paying. We raised that to 21. I don't have it in my head, but we are competing with frontline, McDonald's and all the frontline organizations. So we have to find a way to make that better. What we try to sell is, yes, that you have your own. It's like getting your own 7-Eleven. You have this bus that you are responsible for. How do we help you to be in a different place, to be in an air conditioned environment? Our medical benefits. So we try to sell the positive things to get them in. Once we get people that stay here, like I said, a year or 2, when we get into 3 years, they very rarely leave. That first 2 years is the most challenging time for our organization of retaining employees. As I said, I looked at it, we had 90. I had 90, we ended up with 40 because they keep moving on. A lot of it is that I got another job, something that pays better. And that front line has a lot of movement with people. So it's a major challenge, but we continue to look at what we do. They said we have this task force now, and every week I get a report on what it is we're doing and how we are moving forward. We'll continue to do that and then report. I hope that in the next 6 months, hope is not a method. See that go along, but I'm looking forward to us having a more positive impact and be able to deliver the services we plan each day.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, it'd be great. And again, don't want to speak on behalf of the board, but I think those would be really interesting metrics for us to look at and data over time to see where things are working and where continued improvements might be.
So, yep, yes.
Cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Ken, thank you very much. Thank you to your team. Thank you to Jen. I specifically thank her because she emails us all the time. We email her back. She gets us together. She sends meetings. And so thank you. And I also want to thank all of the LBT employees for their hard work, as I see them as the labor backbone of the organization. Congratulations on the 2024 major accomplishments. On about a week and a half ago, the executive committee met with you and we went over a proposed budget. And I expressed to you that I thought it was great that the Go Pass program was renewed. I share Director Rawlings' sentiments as well. I know you have concerns about the long term, but I firmly believe that it's a way to cultivate riders moving forward. Again, a great thing about your presentation is no debt incurred for 2025, no fare increases, especially with the decrease in funding and the increase in prices of labor, healthcare, fuel, and parts. All of which, while we continue to serve the community. And congratulations on the 2025 proposed capital projects. They look really, really great. I look forward to seeing that and learning more about that. I do have to say that I'm slightly disappointed because, again, going back to the themes that you mentioned in the budget, one that was brought up is design thinking. Another one is a quote unquote fresh approach. And unfortunately, I don't see how that plays out in your presentation. There's been discussion over the years about more investments at the bus stops, whether it's seating or shelter. I brought up more creative ways of advertising, more outreach and presence in specific communities like the Cambodian community and the aging older adult community. And I'm glad you brought up the security issue. That's something that we have talked about. So I'm glad you highlighted that. I was expecting more of that, but it seemed like you just presented like a wide gloss of of items in the budget, but you didn't get into specifics. And I would have liked for us to hear more specific about the fresh approach and, like it was brought up, design thinking. I also would have liked to hear more about how you plan or the team plans to meet the 2025 budget outcomes. Again, they're very broad. They don't give, it doesn't provide any detail, and you also did not go into detail and you did not elaborate. I see them somehow hidden in these phrases, but they're not specific. And considering that some of the issues and concerns that we have brought up over the years, I think it would have been great to hear more specifics about that. Otherwise, it just seems like we're just going to approve a budget and we don't have any information on how that's going to happen. I guess I would give you the opportunity right now if you wanted to elaborate more on your themes of design thinking, which I believe you've already touched on, and the fresh approach.
I want to first say that I appreciate the fact that you recognize what we've done with the budget, or that the board recognize what we've done with the budget. I did not go into details because a lot of this happens day to day on what how we run the organization. I expect that I am the accountable executive who is expected to make those things happen and then report it to the board. I think we're talking more about how we get more of that information to the board on what's happening in the organization. So I did not spend time on that design thinking because we are in the elementary phase of it. We just started. Even the employees are struggling. I am working with employees and what it means. So to present it before the employees really get into it, I felt was disingenuous. This was me. So that I think we can come back and talk about how that is going to change. I introduced it in the budget just to know that it's happening. We are going to spend maybe 6 or 8 months. We projected 8 months before we really start looking at redesigning our processes. So I didn't think I was ready. It was unfair to the employees for me to come up and bring something here when design thinking is supposed to be them bringing the idea up to my level. So for me to come in here and present something, what I think we should be doing would have been reverse to what design thinking teaches. It teaches that you take it from the user perspective up and the leadership decide how we put that in. So I want to say that was my decision not to do that, because they need to be able to bring it to me, not me telling them. That approach is the demand, command and control. I tell you what to do, you do it. With design thinking is you, let's talk about it. You tell me what you're thinking, and I help you to implement it. So I can come back with what we're accomplishing, what we're doing, the things we're looking at, because under each of those categories that are listed on the design thinking, the 9 elements, we have teams that are working on the and will be working on processes of what we will improve. So it was my decision not to go into that, because I felt it was disingenuous to the employees who are doing it right now for me to say, hey board, here's what we're doing. But I'm telling them, you come up with new ideas to how we will change the organ. I hope that makes some sense on what I'm saying there.
It does, and I appreciate your response. I guess I have a challenge with your response as well, because let me give you an example. The rider that public transit had pre-pandemic really doesn't exist anymore, right? It's a new rider and new potential riders tomorrow and next year. We've had this discussion broadly over the year. So it would seem at this point, if you're tasking your team to come up with creative ways to find new riders, haven't we had this discussion before? And shouldn't that have been part of a more specific, shouldn't the specifics have been laid out in the budget for this example I'm giving you?
I understand the perspective that you put in before me. I took a different approach with design thinking, as approach to I have been around transit for a long time, where we use this command and control. This is what I want done. This is how you do it, and you go out and do it. I find that doesn't work. And when you just tell it, but if I engage employees, so here's what we want to do, and you become part of it, I find we get better results out of it, and we get more buy-in. So the approach that we're taking is that I am taking this time is a little bit different from the command and control. Here's, I'm the boss. I tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. And I think that takes some time for employees to get there. And I found that when we went through the first set of training, that employees struggled with the process of not what is the right answer. Design thinking doesn't have a right answer. It has many answers and many trials, and you go through iterations to come to solutions that last. So I would say that the saying that yes, it should have been done. If I use the command and control process, yes, that would have been. I just tell them what to do and they do it. I took a different approach. I took that approach of saying, we're all going to get in the room. We hired a consultant to assist us, and we're going to start looking at how we change this organization, rather than McDonald's saying, here's how we would change the organization. So that started, like I said, about a year ago. I did this with the executive team. The executive teams were the one that said, let's bring all the managers in. So we stopped. I cannot run 40 people in a program. So we hired a consultant to help us to make that happen. So the change of direction is what I am saying is different from how I myself as a leader used to do. do we get the results of that? Having it's in the book. My intent is that yes, we will share where we are with it as we go forward. So I hear what you're asking, but we took a different approach on this
one. So I believe you said earlier that so maybe within what 6 to 8 months, the board will hear more.
I can bring it back to the board. Yes,
more specifics about
of what is coming out of the 9 elements and how the processes that we are working on that would help us to. It is employees are going out and looking at the service from the user perspective,
right,
not from the way we always planned. That we knew what the schedule and what the users wanted. We did a survey. Well, we did it once a year. Now we're going to go twice a year. Now it's us going out and experiencing that and deciding what needs to change.
I can appreciate that, like I said, but I believe some of the members of this board have brought up those concerns or issues to you, and we're writers, and also members who represent elected officials who sit in community meetings. The writers are passing on a message through us to you. So while I can appreciate the hands-on approach by your team, we've provided some of that information to you already. And as a writer myself, I still don't see it in the budget in your presentation. But you've explained your perspective and your plan. So I just wanted to voice, because I brought them up in our executive meeting, I want to express them again in public. And so my colleagues can hear. And I just thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I take that as a point of, as I said, we are going, since I am taking a different approach, there are some things that that needs immediate attention. And there's some of those we're going to put into how we're going to do that. If it needs immediate attention, we do it right away. Some of what you've shared with me are going to go through that process of how we put information out to our customers, so that it will be in that process as we go through that. I don't know that I can give a better answer at this point in time, but I will bring back another answer.
Well, we will trust your word and your representation of your your short-term plans, and I look forward to hearing more about it along with your team.
I appreciate that very much. Jen is get it.
Thanks. So I think my first comment is really for the rest of the board and for the chair and the vice chair. This is the process. I know this has always been the process. I don't think this is a great budget process. This is a single meeting to go over $170 million in spending. That's not how it's done in other agencies. I think the way it's set up on the agenda assumes that there's going to be no changes from the board or substantive feedback. I understand a couple had a week's advance notice, but even that's really not a lot of time to consider this budget. You know, their monthly meetings, that's the calendar. Maybe the board has to meet 2 times in the budget month so that there's a meeting dedicated to going over all the content, which is not the same meeting as voting on the budget. So, you know, different agencies are different, but this is not how other agencies handle this. I will say, just picking up on Raul's comments, I don't think it's disrespectful of staff to provide details in a budget. As part of the city budget process, high level, you know, not every staff, but high level officials like Josh and I, we come before council and they're multi-hour hearings and you discuss every last detail, not just of the budget, but of your part of the organization's operations. And that is just part of the process. And that is what the decision makers expect. So I think this board is supposed to be providing an oversight function. And this afternoon seems to be set up in a way that doesn't fully phrase that. In terms of core values, I'm glad there's core values. One of them that I think is very important is the sort of being open to new ideas. Can you have a talented staff? But we on the board aren't hearing those new ideas. So at the retreat that's coming up next week, at future meetings, some ideas will turn out, some ideas won't. Some will be great ideas, some will turn out not to be. But I think we're wanting to hear more than just a monthly report and press the button. So I really, during my time here, I've been here less time than others, but I really haven't heard that. So I think the agency has some really big financial challenges, and I heard that acknowledged, but I really didn't hear the plan to address that. And I would like to hear that. I'd like to begin hearing that next week. So I think details matter. So earlier in the month, we got an investment report. It's a quarterly investment report, and it shows that we didn't hit the benchmark in any of the reporting periods, which is fine. But I'd like to hear why and what are we doing about that? And is the local agency investment fund serving us well, or is it not? And what are we doing? So I did back of the napkin math. $60 million cash position. If we had met the benchmark, which is a 12-week treasury, that would have been about $600,000 in additional interest income over the course of a year. It's not going to solve the agency's problems, but that's more cash than you or I have in our pocket. That's real money. So I'm just not hearing a lot about sort of how we get from here to a positive future. I don't understand the service planning approach. There's a lot of time and money spent on STAR, but it really doesn't matter because that's all pre-pandemic data. And I hear every month the focus on restoring service that existed pre-pandemic. That doesn't make sense to me because the riders are different places, they're going different places, they're working different hours. So I don't know, you don't have to have answers on the spot today, but I really would like to hear more at the retreat and in sort of coming weeks. You talked about risk management and the rising cost of insurance, but I didn't hear much about what are we doing to control claims so that then we have some better bargaining power with our insurers. I've heard references to new revenue source. I have no idea what that is. And only retaining 40 out of 90 operators is horrible. Thank you for being honest about what the number is, but I would like to hear more. I think in my agency, we've done things that don't cost a lot of money that we're seeing results in terms of retention. So there's a lot of studies that show an employee's first day, their first week, their first month is very impactful to how they view the employer for the whole rest of the time. So we've worked on requiring every manager when they have a new employee that the new employee has the best first day ever possible. And it sounds like silly, but there's a lot of research backing up that it makes a big difference. We have breakfast for new employees, so they're really like recognized and celebrated as new employees. So there's things that can be done on the retention front that aren't just compensation, right? So I think we'd just like to hear more about that and where we're going.
I don't know if I'm supposed to respond. There's a lot of things that were said there to unfold. I think I would. I want to just touch on one of those, which is the process of presenting the budget. I've been here for 10 years. This was set with the board. This board can have a conversation about how if we want to change the process. But that process was set when I first got here. There was not a presentation like this. The budget was sent to the board. There was discussion about it, and then they voted. So there are a lot that was said there to unfold. But this process wasn't my process. It's the process that's been there, and I continue with it. So
I understand that, but I also think it's important to evaluate whether that process is working for the agency and working for the public. I don't think having zero public comment on $170 million is really a great outcome. I don't think there was like surveys or public input, sort of process to the budget, which I think is just room for improvement for next year.
Is there any more discussion? I do want to go. I know we have a board member, a director that's on Zoom. Does he have any additional comments and feedback before I go?
Yeah, we have a retreat that's coming up next week. There's a 2-day full days of retreat. And one of the items that are actually on the retreat is actually going on a little bit deep dive on the finances of LBT. And I'll be frank and basically say that, I would have liked to have had the retreat before the action item. And while transparency, I did convey to the staff that I would not only be unavailable for this particular meeting, but that I was actually encouraging to have the retreat and have the deep dive on numbers before the board actually took action, since everything was already in May. But it seemed like there was some sort of like magical time that we needed to take this action on this time and this day. And in all honesty, the reason why I'm virtually even zooming in is because you didn't have the quorum, and to basically to even take the action. So it seemed a little kind of rushed with respect to the action of the budget on something that I think the city representative has articulated. But I was hoping that we would have the retreat before having actually this particular action. And in light of the fact that we don't even have the chair present, and we have another board member that's not present, and I'm not physically present. So, but it seemed like there's some sort of magical number that we have to take this action now. So that was, I literally got a call from Ken an hour before this meeting to jump on. So just for full transparency of you all and the public.
Great. So I do have some comments as well. Thank you for our directors and our city staff for sharing their input. I agree with each and every one of you. I think we're in a time where we want to see change, right? We want to see the drive that I know we can do, right? And so the board has asked multiple times about this vision. What are these new ideas? It's easy for us to say, we have ideas, we have all these things, but when we don't see it on paper, we're not hearing about it, it's very, very difficult, right? And so I agree. I think we need to reassess this budget process. How can we get more community input? I know the city and different cities, in my actual job, I oversee 13 cities. So I know that there is a process that we can get community engaged. And I agree with Christopher, the fact that we have zero public comment, it's a big disservice to our community. This is impacting every rider that goes on this meeting. And we have zero community members here. We had one public comment, but it wasn't for this item. So I agree. And especially with the challenges, some of those pie charts, I saw federal funding, I saw state funding. We're in a crisis at the state. There is no money. We're going to see drastic cuts. We've been hearing about the doomsday scenario about the federal funding. But till this day, I can't not say that we have a tangible plan on how we're going to challenge this. And that's very, very alarming. And so I encourage you to please give us those details, gives us that vision on how we're gonna change that. I know you mentioned in the presentation about bus stops. I'm glad that we're looking into that, but I also wanna, when I either drive around or I'm in the bus, I see people standing till this day without no bus stop, no seating, no shelter, and it might be raining, it might be hot, 90 degrees. We really need to think about those folks that really need that. So I encourage you, and I know you mentioned they're going to be on Atlantic and Cherry. I'm curious to know why we're choosing those areas for that. And so also the Go Pass. I know I believe, a year in. we're getting closer to that timeline. We really, really need to think strategically. Like, the board is here to help as well. Let us know. We want to help. We want to make sure that Long Beach Transit is the best transit agency in the state. So I don't want to reinstate everything that's been said. Those are my comments. And then we can go for a vote.
Chair, or Vice Chair, we do have somebody who's raising their hand right now for public comment. So I don't know if
Perfect.
if your guys' is called it that or not. Let me get him. Kurt?
Yeah, let me just here, I'm a community member. Let me throw you a bone. The operations budget has gone up, but the service isn't increasing and cuts are on the way. From my perspective as a writer, that's not a good sign, obviously. The route that I was using most frequently recently had its service significantly reduced. And on that same transit tour that I started my public comment about, we rode the 121 back from Walter Pyramid and had to do that ridiculous dog leg to Alamitos Bay Marina because you stopped service on the 131 at night. I get it. 131 wasn't a very heavily utilized route, and you need to route to where you can get the more effective use out of those bus resources and drivers. But it really was a bad experience for a lot of the people who weren't accustomed to riding Long Beach Transit. And to be honest, I had forgotten that the 121 routes down that way at night now. So it just added an extra 16 minutes to a trip that didn't need to happen. Nobody got on, nobody got off at that location. And to see on the service route that the service change that the 131 service isn't going to be reinstated once the water taxi shuttles resume service, that was also disappointing. To just kind of close off, I think as far as riders, there's a lot of people who want to take the bus, but it's never going to be their primary form of transportation. But it could be a really good alternative mode of transportation. And I know that chasing choice riders is a dangerous game. They're very expensive to try and appeal to, and they're very fickle. But a service increase like using the 151 to have an actual useful eastbound terminus, like 2nd and PCH or the Alamitos Bay Marina, you could extend that route. And now all the people who live on 4th Street have a direct route on weekends to get to the farmers market at 2nd and PCH, or all the shops and businesses that are over there, rather than just terminating at Colorado Lagoon. I'm glad that Long Beach Transit exists, but it's an 8 out of 10, and it's a tough recommendation to people who aren't familiar with riding the bus, because service levels just aren't that great in a lot of areas. So yeah, I do hope that there is going to be more input from the community, and that there's more that Long Beach Transit does in the future to try and seek out community members, especially ones who are supportive. So yeah, there you go. Have fun with that.
Good question, Ken. Are we knowing about a lot of this feedback? Is this the official deadline to approve the budget? Like, is it written somewhere in our constitution that has to be approved by today?
Tell you why it's today. The 2024 budget ends on June 30th, and the new budget is expected to take effect on June 1st. We don't have a budget. July 1st. Sorry, July 1st. So if we don't have a budget, I think you'll understand the consequence. We don't have a budget to operate. So I come in May in case we have any questions, and maybe come back in June, but I don't know what I will bring differently before this board between now and June.
Ken, this is Eddie, Director Eddie, on Zoom. I was asking if there is a way that we can have a special meeting. You have general counsel there, which you can agendize clearly, on the fact that I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that we can then, as part of the retreat next week before June 1st, that then we can adopt the budget at the second day of the retreat, so that we can have some of our more deep dive answers to the question. Is that possible? Is that feasible? Is that workable?
Anything, any and everything is possible. We spent a lot. We started this budget process at the end of January when we started, and in February we begin. There's a cycle in here to get here. We can have more discussion. I don't know what will change in the budget. We can go back and you know I said earlier that we in the last 5 years our wages have increased 40%. Our funding hasn't increased to that extent. So we are constantly taking the money to pay wages that continue to rise, and that we're a labor intensive organization, and most of what we do is driven by labor. So how do we pay for it is the most important thing that I keep saying here. When we look at the revenue that we have, how do we pay for changes? It's a zero sum game. It comes from, we go here, has to go somewhere else. So it is up to the board, and if you want to have further discussion, we can have those. I don't know what I would bring differently to you from what we have here today. But I am open for, you're the board. You decided that you didn't want to vote on this today and wanted to have more discussion. We can open up for more discussion.
Madam Vice Chair, can I ask some questions of the Secretary? Jen, who was the mover of this motion? Was it me? Sorry, I don't recall.
The mover of the motion was, yes, it was you, Rel.
Okay, and the seconder?
Randy.
Thanks, Ken, for saying anything is possible. I came into this meeting, maybe it didn't show, but very concerned that we're missing board members. I thank Director Angeles for being online. That's a commitment. And I was nervous that certain board members would not be here. And I was correct. I get nervous passing the budget with only 4 of us online. I wish the chair were here. And I think if the board is open, I would make a substitute motion that we continue this to the June meeting. And if necessary, we have a special meeting beforehand, in addition to the retreat, if necessary. Because I just don't feel comfortable voting on this. I expressed slight disappointment when I spoke earlier, and I keep hearing similar sentiments and concerns. And yeah, where is the public? We should have done some outreach. And I thank the member of the public who spoke, but there's a lot of money, and I came in very nervous about it. And so now that it seems like I'm not the only one, then I'm expressing that we move this to the June meeting, and if necessary, have a special meeting to discuss further. And to your question, what will I do different? Well, I believe you've heard from all of us some ideas of what you can do different. Your team is here. They've heard from all of us. Your staff is there. They've heard from all of us. You have ideas. You have concerns that have been presented to you. So that's my motion.
So I am clear on the motion. Can you repeat the motion that
I make the motion that we move this item recommendation to adopt the fiscal year 2025 operating budget of 132,189,921 and the fiscal year 2025 capital budget of 45,843,547 to the June general board meeting, and if necessary, meet at a special meeting beforehand.
So we going to try to get all the board members at a special meeting before June or then the June meeting.
I'm hoping that when we express our concern that yes, they will.
We will do the same thing we did. We'll poll them. We'll try to figure out a time that we can probably have all the board members. This meeting scheduled a year ago.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
you have the same concern I have. So I am in the same place for this. This was scheduled a year ago when we made when we approved in December. We approved the schedule of slate and knowing that May is the budget.
I
So
have.
I will try my best to, Jen, to try to get I think what I'm hearing you asking is a full board members,
Correct.
full slate of board members, so that we can go over this again.
That's correct. And clearly more time to process and review your presentation.
Yep.
And you asked, what can I do different? Well, you've heard several concerns and issues.
So I want to express as the CEO, I heard a lot of concerns and a lot of recommendations. 70% of this budget is labor. There's only 30%, which is pretty much like $30 million, which is spent on parts. And so when we go back and look at the schedule, the labor drives the whatever we decide. So if we have a limited budget and 70% of it is labor, we can only do so much inside of that in terms of changing the schedule. So if we decide that we want to give up something here, something has to give over here. There is no other place we can pull it from. I just want to express that because as we go back, that's my biggest concern. That as I walk away from here, I can sit with the staff, we can come up, but that is driven, all of that is driven by labor. It is not driven by much more. So the parts and the things that drive the organization day to day, we can't, if we put out service, we have to put those buses out, and that is sort of a given. It is not in opposition to what was said to me. I'm just saying the reality of what I'm dealing with is that we are 70% labor.
I understand, but I think with the full board here and the full board voting or not voting for your budget is important. And unfortunately, we don't have a full board.
Yep. I hear you.
And you said we have till July 1st, correct?
We have until June 30th.
Okay.
On July 1st, we don't have a budget. We cannot operate.
Is there a second to my motion?
We're going to say something.
Yeah, so I did want to inform the board, right? When we were polled about the board retreat, there were June dates included and almost nobody could attend those June dates. So if we're looking for a full board to attend when they couldn't attend a retreat, it may be difficult. So, the board at one point was polled for June dates for the retreat and we had more people for May than we did for June. So that may be an issue to have another special session.
We will go out and poll again. We'll express what happened here today. But I will promise to call and discuss what happened here today and then see if we can get a date where the full board is willing to spend 2 or 3 hours to look at the budget. There would be a special meeting, I believe, to look at the budget. Even the retreat, we don't have every board member signed up for the retreat, but for the 2 days. So even if we decided let's do the retreat, I think part of the retreat we don't have all board members.
Well, I know it was suggested that we use the second day to discuss the budget, but I'm okay discussing it at a special session. It doesn't have to be on day 2.
Yeah, if we can get everyone is what I'm hearing, get everyone to show up for it.
But yes, we do still need a second for the substitute motion.
May I make a comment before seconding? I understand everyone's concerns here, and unfortunately, we don't have a ideal situation in front of us where it's, you know, March or April. We can actually take the time to actually make changes to this document. I understand the board's concerns, and I share them. But I also understand Ken's concerns that if our solution right now is to try to make some time before the next month, I would be extremely, extremely stressed, both as a director, but also if I was in Ken's shoes or any of the teammates' shoes, having this exact same conversation a couple of days before. If we cannot guarantee that we're going to have either a quorum or all the boards here, then we're in exactly the same situation. But now we're 48 hours out. That puts the agency, I think, at a risk that is concerning to me. So right now, I think we're in a position where we need to weigh how do we mitigate the risk? Do we mitigate the risk by having almost no time to make a decision in a month, but we can't at this moment guarantee that we're going to have everyone that we need to make the board feel comfortable? Or do we have the risk that we pass something knowing full well that we still didn't quite have the time to have the discussions that we want to? So I would second the motion, but I would also like to say perhaps we change it slightly to try to do something even before that date. I don't think it's a if necessary have an extra. I think it is a red line that we do not cross. We must have a discussion with all of the board members in some way well before that date, so that when it comes back on the 30th, we know for a fact what we're doing is voting.
I accept that. I only mentioned if necessary due to scheduling.
Okay.
But I agree. I'm all for the special session.
Would we have a special session if we didn't get all the board members? Let's say we got 6 of the 7. Would we have a session?
I believe the chair needs to call the board members who are not present and remind them of the responsibility and their commitment that they made, saying some of them have not been to the meeting.
I think I agree. I'm just totally agree. I would have loved to have all the board members here. That would be ideal from my perspective, is that all the board members are here. I'm just saying, as we poll, should we have, if we only got 6, do we move forward, or if we're in the same? Because I've had real challenges, Jen and I, of getting everybody to show up. Like I said, even the retreat, we don't have everyone showing up. We move forward because we had a quorum, bigger, more people coming than. So we move forward. I'm just, as we walk out of here and we decide we're going to get the board member and we can't find a day for all 7, what do we do? Is the board guiding that we get 6, we move with 6, we get 5? I just like to understand that as I walk out and what we're going to do, so we can, Ben and I can work on that. I don't have an answer to give. I'm just asking.
I don't know the schedules of the absent board members. I do know that they're aware that it's the 4th Thursday of every month, and it's important to press upon them their attendance and their input. That's what we could do.
I will get with David also. We have 6. I don't have an answer. That's what I'm saying. I was just asking the question. I've had a lot of struggles. You probably are here on almost every meeting. You can see we always miss a board member every meeting. Every single meeting we seem to miss someone. So I don't have it. I just don't want to walk away with that I could get all 7 when there's been a real challenge for me in the last couple of months.
Well, the only thing I can add is that we make an honest and fair attempt once again to reach out to the missing board members to attend. That's all we can do. And if on June 25th or whenever our meeting is in on the fourth Thursday, it's only 4 of us again, then it's the 4 of us. But I think we need to make a conscious effort and reach out to the board members and impress upon them that they must attend to review the budget and approve it. Okay.
So, did you make the second? I know you had some feedback on
Yeah,
the original.
I will second. Do we need to restate what the new motion is?
I was just about to say, I just wanted to make sure I have it correct. So the new motion is to move the current agenda item to the June meeting and to hold a special session before the June board meeting with most of the directors in attendance. June, the next meeting is June 27th. So the motion is to move the current item number 8 to the June 27th meeting, June 27th, 2024 meeting, and to hold a special session before.
Or hold a session. Either move it there or try to have a special session.
I took it to mean you wanted both.
Well, it might be necessary to have a special session. I don't know if board members are going to be able to make the special session, but I believe there's further discussion to be had about not what we've expressed to you today, but also in general from the board members who are not here.
Just for clarification, Director Anorve, would the special session be the same day, June 27th, or on a different date?
That would be up to the to Jen to coordinate. It can be held earlier on the same day, or it can be held 2 weeks before, whatever works for all of us. And for you as well.
I'll poll the board and find out if there's any dates that we can get together before.
I just I don't apologize for having to move this item. It's just there are some valid concerns. And I understand you have a different perspective than we do, or from what I hear, but I wouldn't be able to support in the affirmative today if we voted.
I don't think I have a different perspective.
And I do want to support. I want to support you. I want to support the team. I love Long Beach Transit. I ride it all the time. So there's nothing more than I want it for it to be successful in 2025. But I think we need some details, some more information. These concerns, again, they weren't brought up to you today. We've discussed them before. So there must be some ideas with the executive team already, right? That they've pondered, that they've looked into. I can't imagine that they haven't done that.
Right. So we have a motion. We have a second.
I will second.
Okay. All right. So then we will call for a vote.
Chair Sutton, Vice Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Anorve, Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp, Director Rawlings,
Aye.
Director Thrash Untuck. Directors Sutton, Kemp, and Thrash Untuck have been excused.
All right. The new motion. Did not write it down.
The new motion to move item 8 to the June 27th, 2024 meeting and to hold a special session with the board beforehand.
Great. Motion passed. All right. So moving on to public comment. As mentioned before, if you want to make a public comment, you must get a speaker's card and show it to our board secretary. Do we see any public comment? No. All right. Moving on to board requests. Are there any board requests?
Vice Chair. This is not a request, but may I ask, for transparency's sake and for all directors moving forward, what the implications are on staff over the next 30 to 45 days based on this new motion that we've made? In terms of additional workload, time, even generally speaking, is that is that something we can see?
I wouldn't be able to estimate at this time. Obviously, my workload right now is I'm getting ready for the board retreat next week, which a lot of these concerns are going to be addressed during that board retreat. So hopefully at that time, we can also have further discussions about a meeting I'm in June as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional board requests? I do have one. I did see City Council approved a lot of items regarding the Olympics that are coming down. It would be great to get a report on how Long Beach Transit plans to be engaged in all of these activities. So just wanted to add that as a board request. Any additional board requests? All right, seeing none. Oh, I'm still talking. Okay. Now, do I hear a motion to, we're moving to adjournment. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation to adjourn?
Rawlings.
So, second.
Roll call.
Yes. Roll call. Chair Sign, Vice Chair Mejia.
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Norby. Director Angeles.
Aye.
Director Kemp. Director Rawlings.
Aye.
Director Thrashentuk. Directors Sutton, Kemp, and Thrashentuk have been excused.
Okay, motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned. The next regular meeting will be held June 27, 2024. Thank you, everyone.